It's really interesting because the way that we're kind of taught to think about money and the way that we grow up thinking about money uh, probably was accurate a couple hundred years ago. So there used to be a time when money was objects, that it was the object itself that had value. But that's not even the case. In the States, you can't even exchange money for gold and silver anymore. That went away in over 50 years ago. so
Yeah.
so it's literally not it hasn't been an object for 50 years. But
Hmm.
and there was a time 100 or more years ago where if you looked at all the abundance on the planet and divided by the number of people, there wasn't really enough to go around. So the pie wasn't big enough. If you gave equal slices to everybody, some people wouldn't have enough. So that set up a dynamic where, for me to have enough, somebody has to have less. But we're not in that space either anymore. It's been decades since we're there. If you look at the total GDP of the planet, divided by the number of people, there's more than enough for everybody to live with financial abundance. It's just not distributed very well right now because we're in that old thinking. People are still in the like, I need to get more and more and more. That's going to buy me more freedom or more whatever, more appreciation and status, and somehow it'll safeguard my future. But those things just aren't true. All that thinking is, centuries old thinking.
Some of it too might be ancestral poverty mindset. I don't even think it's just handed down verbally. I think it's somehow in the DNA sometimes where your parents did things a certain way and made sure that they put money in the bank every single week. The majority of their paycheck went there and then they paid all their bills, and make sure you keep your job and don't lose your job because then you're going to be in trouble if that happens. And you
Yeah,
learn all these subconscious behavior patterns that you really, again, subconsciously, you're not even aware that you're adopting these belief systems that your parents had or even their parents had, and it's just been passed down this ancestral line. But it is a new way of moving forward into this new world where we are looking at money differently, we're looking at energy differently, and we're exchanging it in a more free way. I think and I'm hoping that
yeah,
that's kind of where we're going
yeah,
with everything.
definitely. Yeah, I remember when I was working in first I was working for the government, yeah, the Department of Energy, but a different kind of energy, and
Yep.
eventually in big business and a lot of startups back when the kind of the big startup boom was happening in the 90s or 2000s both. And then I started watching like how money was working for me. And because at first I was kind of playing the game like, okay, I got my salary, I got a good job, I can get like a 5% raise, that's pretty good. But if I switch jobs, then I can get a 15 to 20% raise. A year later, get another 5%, and then 6 months later, I can switch jobs again, get another 20, and then another 5 year later. So I was realizing, oh, the goal at that time was to raise my annual salary, and I figured out,
Yes.
okay, I can sort of gamify the system and do that. But it occurred to me at some point that that had limits. Like I could only get the salary so high, and it really wasn't getting me the things I wanted. I wasn't feeling like you said, Tracy. I wasn't feeling more free. I was just buying more expensive stuff, right? But
Yep.
so like I had a bigger house that I couldn't quite afford, you know,
Yeah.
and but it wasn't really changing much from my internal experience. And then I switched to once I left that career and was working more on an hourly basis. So I was doing energy readings and healings and working on that level. Same kind of thing. I'm like, oh, if I can make 100 an hour, maybe I can get up to 200, 250 an hour. And I was working less hours than in the salary job, but it also realized this the fundamental problem here is that I'm still exchanging my time for money. So if I can't work for 2 weeks, I have zero hours equals $0. Oh, okay, so the problem is that I've associated my time with money, and that's always going to feel scarce because my time is limited, right? And
Yep.
that's when I said, okay, how would I reorganize so that it's not based on my time? Because even if you're making $1,000, $2,000 an hour, uh, you still have to work an hour, right? And
Right.
you probably not you can't work at that level for many many hours. And that's when I started getting into digital products. Can I sell some CDs? Can I do a little bit? And then eventually I found Mind Valley, but I was been teaching about 10 years at that point, teaching on stage, and It's like, oh, this is fantastic. So now there's a way for the universe to give me money, to fill my bank account with money without me actually doing anything. Like I just
Right.
do my best to make an interesting class or to help people. And there's a way for money to come back to me. And that's what I kind of really got is like, money isn't about labor and it's not about time. It's not even really about creativity. Money is about being of service to others, right? So, if in the energetic picture, if I just think, oh, what are my unique gifts and talents? How can I help people? And then I lean into that and start helping more people. That energy will come back to me financially
Mhm.
if I've set up a system where it can, right? If I was
Mhm.
still in that salary job and there was no way for anybody to send money to me except through that salary, it wouldn't matter how much I was helping people. I'm limited to that salary. There's the energy part that changing your understanding helps, and then there's also just opening the doors so that in some way people can send money to you without you having to be in the middle, spending time or talking to them directly. Like once you kind of disassociate money from your own time, suddenly things can get really big, and you can just focus on helping people, spreading love, spreading joy, spreading a beautiful information, inspiration, like you're doing right now. So
Right, and it's funny, I was just listening to you say this now, and the thought occurred to me that we have to let go of our limiting beliefs as well in terms of how money can come to us, because if we are just putting the box around it of we can only receive it through this 9 to 5 job, and this is the only way that money will come to us, then that is the only way money will come to us. But if we kind of take the reins off and allow our mind to open up to the possibility of it can come in any form at any time, in any amount, and I think that's a key component too, is just letting go of those limiting beliefs. And again, kind of going back to what we were taught as children or what the family around us, how they were living their life and the
yeah.
belief systems they carry, and just not adopting other people's beliefs and really just kind of wiping that clear, which is not an easy thing to do.
I think people that are growing up in the digital era have a big advantage because it's really natural. Like I was watching somebody's video, something about guitar, right? I'm just kind of getting into guitars and learning, and I was watching a little video, and in the person's link, they said, "Hey, if you like this, buy me a coffee." And there was a link I could just click on, and it would be like, "Oh, you're just going to basically give $5 to somebody," and it's like, I'm like, "Sure, I'll buy him a coffee. That was worth it." And so this person has a way. Like I've never met him. He didn't spend any time with me, but he can get $5. So there's a way for money to get to him without him doing work each time. Yeah.
That's really interesting, and I think it's really important for people to hear this message because, a lot of people are struggling right now, and it's really nice to hear someone give a positive spin on how, individually we can change that.
Yeah, it takes a little practice and maybe a little bit of kind of trust in yourself to make the transition. It's not just about the beliefs, but it also you have to get a sense that things can return over time, right? So like right now, I'm investing like every penny I make right now, I'm investing in this new project with my wife. And some people might say that's not a great business move, but I should be putting it in the stock market or something. But I think why wouldn't I invest in myself? like we're trying to help people. We have something really beautiful, a message to
Mhm.
share. Why wouldn't I put all my, everything I have behind that rather than, like, oh, Amazon can make some money, maybe I can get a little percent of that. I mean, that doesn't really relate to me the way I help people. It does take some faith in, on my part to say, I can let go of what I have today because I'm helping more people and I have the belief that that will return, that will come back to me energetically and financially. Yeah.